Hello Vlogger Alliance, this week's theme is criticism. Here's some criticism I had of Doctor Who that I wrote about a week or so ago. I'm going to read it to you and add annotations where necessary, where I've formed more opinions on that, or people have commented on it and I've seen their point of view and I sort of agree with them, etc. The other week when I watched Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS, I didn't watch it as it went out live. I watched it quite late in the night because I went to see Iron Man 3, which, by the way, here's some positive criticism, which is not criticism at all, it's praise. Iron Man 3 is really good, but criticism, it feels like it should have been released Christmas time because the entire thing is set around Christmas, and I get the feeling that oops, we accidentally didn't finish it, so we have to release it in the summer type thing happened. It just feels too Christmassy, and I didn't like that. Okay, anyway, I watched Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS quite late at night, and I didn't really like it, so I thought, okay, I'm going to watch it again so I can form a proper opinion. And my proper opinion of Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS is, it's awful. And to be honest, recently Doctor Who itself has been getting pretty awful. But before I talk about that, I'm going to tell you about my problems with Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS. Firstly, Clara wakes up in the TARDIS and then realises that, oh god, we've crashed or something. And then she sees this red light, flashing light above a door. She thinks, should I go through that door that I've probably never been through before, that has a red light on it? And she thinks, red means danger, red is bad. Well done, very clever, Clara. And then she opens it. She opens the door. What does she do that for? We don't know. She's just curious and impulsive, apparently. But the door opens and fire bellows out of it. And Clara's chased by this fire. She runs down a corridor, chased by the fire. But there's no consequences. She turns a corner and then she's fine. Nothing happens to that fire. It literally, that entire thing seemed to be just so they could have a dramatic shot of Clara running away from fire to put in the trailer. Completely pointless. Secondly, there are 3 characters in Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS that don't need to be in Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS. Those are the 3 Scrap Brothers. I don't know their names because their characters are completely forgettable and I just don't know why they were there. It seemed that the only reason that they were there was to give the TARDIS a reason to crash, but surely they could have thought of some other good reason to make the TARDIS crash. Thirdly, Clara, as she's wandering around the TARDIS, she seems to be wandering quite casually considering she's been chased by a weird zombie thing. She runs into the library and she sees a book and she's thinking, I'm being chased by a zombie, but I think I'll have a look in this book about the Time War, the history of the Time War. I don't have a problem with that book. It's fine for the Doctor to have a book on the history of the Time War. It's incredibly likely that he wrote it considering he's the only one that survived. He's fine. Book's great and wonderful. Great, have a book about the war, but why? Why does Clara simply walk up to it, open it, skims some pages and goes, oh, so that's the Doctor's name. What? That seems awfully convenient to me. Why did Clara even open the book in the first place? As far as I'm aware, the Doctor has not told her about the Time War, so surely there's no real good reason for her to stop and suddenly open that book, as opposed to any of the other books in that room. Also, it seemed the book was in English. I mean, it couldn't have been in Gallifreyan, because TARDIS doesn't translate Gallifreyan. If the TARDIS could translate Gallifreyan, TARDIS will be able to read all the writing on the side of the Doctor's crib, and all the writing above the TARDIS controls. So it can't have been written in Gallifreyan. So why the hoo-ha is it written in English? And then of course at the end of the episode they used literally here a big convenient reboot button. They went all J.J. Abrams and rebooted the whole thing and just went to the beginning of the episode as if nothing happened, therefore making the entire episode void. Why? Using a reboot, cancelling out, going back in time to make sure something never really happened is the same as basically having a soap opera in which at the end someone reveals that all those murders were actually a dream. It's just poor writing on the behalf of the person who wrote this episode. The saddest thing, I think, personally, about Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS is that it could have been so good. I mean, we didn't need the scrap merchants. Get rid of those. What could have happened is the Doctor is giving Clara a tour of the TARDIS, and they're all having great fun, and Clara wanders off. She finds something that she shouldn't have found, some secret of the Doctor, and then the TARDIS, being all protective of her Doctor, decides to go all HAL 9000 on her. Can you picture that? And then the Doctor has to run around and try and find Clara and convince the TARDIS to let her go or stop doing whatever, and also the Doctor has to convince Clara to, forgive him or, don't feel scared of him for what the secret is. I don't know what the secret is, but they could have done something like that and it could have been really good, but they didn't do that. They did journey to the centre of the TARDIS, which was awful. And so I have to add it to my very long list of recent Doctor Who episodes that I don't like. And I've actually really had to add the newest episode, The Crimson Horror, to that list as well. Because it's, well, not very good. So far, Series 7 or Series 33, depending on your outlook in life, has been a bit of a letdown. Firstly, the biggest letdown was that they split this series into 2 halves. Not even 2 halves, they did 5 episodes and this is an 8-episode thing. Don't do that. Just don't. If you want to get rid of companions, do it in like the first episode or give them a whole series. Because I don't think giving us 5 episodes with the Ponds, which were all pretty rubbish to be honest. I mean, you've heard my opinion on Asylum of the Daleks. If you haven't, I will link it down there. It was terrible.
Hey, Josh from the past, did you by any chance forget to mention Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, which was also not very good?
And then you've got the Gunslinger episode. I can't remember. Was that episode called Gunslingers? No, that was the William Hartnell series one, wasn't it? Whatever that episode set in the Wild West was, that was quite good, but it still felt forced. It's actually, by far, that's the best episode of this series, I think. And then you had Power of 3, which was okay, but then they just rushed the ending and didn't explain anything. And then they had their finale, which was just riddled with Weeping Angel problems, like how the heck does the Statue of Liberty get across the city without anyone seeing it? Also, the Statue of Liberty is not made of stone like all of the other angels. The Statue of Liberty is made of copper. And then they had a big break. Oh, how terrible. Then they had the Christmas episode. They had the Christmas episode in the middle of the series. But we got Clara, yay! But they killed her again. Oh, right, thanks for that. So you're giving us 8 episodes, basically, to get used to Clara. And by doing that, what you've done is not let yourself have any space for any 2-part episodes. Because if you had, like, say, 2 2-part episodes, like you wouldn't, like, in the last few series, they'd be about two good 2-parter episodes. You can't do that in the 8 episodes that you have left. Because if you did 2 2-parter episodes, that would leave you with 6 stories, which you don't want. So you got 8 stories. And so every single one of them feels rushed. And it's bad. And whose fault is this? I maintain this is the fault of the current showrunner, Stephen Moffat. Why? Because I think he's got too much on his plate. I mean, he's doing Sherlock, which is fantastic. He's doing a good job of that, but he only has to make 3 episodes of them for each series. Stephen Moffat, what he's done is he's made a very poor decision on how he wanted to organise that series. And so it reflects and shows. But Doctor Who's been getting a bit rubbish since, I'd say, Matt Smith's Doctor, about the time that Stephen Moffat became the showrunner. And I'll tell you for why. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm following a trend by saying, oh, Stephen Moffat has ruined Doctor Who. He hasn't ruined Doctor Who. Doctor Who is still an enjoyable show. I can still enjoy watching it. And Stephen Moffat, by the way, has written some of the best Doctor Who stories from the last few series. I mean, he wrote Blink, terrifying. He wrote Empty Child, terrifying. He wrote The Girl in the Fireplace, which was enchanting. And he wrote so many good things, and he created great enemies like the Clockwork People, the gas mask zombies, the Weeping Angel, and also The Silence, I think, was his creation. And they're pretty scary too. In addition, he wrote Curse of the Fatal Death, which was a 2003 comic relief special for Doctor Who's before he was brought back, and it stars Rowan Atkinson as the Doctor, and it's basically a spoof of all of Classic Who. So if you've seen Classic Who, I imagine Curse of Fatal Death will be a million times funnier, but you can still watch Curse of Fatal Death and find it hilarious, and I recommend you watch it. It's one of my favourite things that Moffat has ever written. Weird that it's just a comic relief special type thing, but I'll link it down here because it is available on YouTube on the Comic Relief channel, or the Red Nose Day channel, but I don't know if you can watch it in the US. You probably can, hopefully, but I don't know. We'll have to see. I'll link it. If it doesn't, I'm sorry. Try and find somewhere else to watch it. I think it might be on it. It should be on it. Some kind of DVD. Look for it. Anyway, my problem with Moffat is he has a tendency to go for the overarching storylines, which I'm okay. Have an overarching storyline, it's good to have the series have a general theme, but Stephen Moffat looks too much into these things. And sometimes he has storylines arcing over, like, several series, which really is unnecessary for a show like Doctor Who. Let me give you an example from the first series of revived Doctor Who, the series with the Doctors, Christopher Eccleston and Billie Piper as Rose. Now that series had an overarching storyline of the Bad Wolf, the Bad Wolf graffiti, the Bad Wolf word that is scattered around time, and no one quite knows why that is. It is mentioned by the characters, but not very much. It doesn't seem like it should be vital. And then at the end, it's revealed that the Bad Wolf is the Daleks, etc, etc, etc. Russell T Davies stayed as the showrunner for a few years, and he got some great episodes written. He did some great storylines, he did some naff storylines, but in general, I quite liked it. Much like Stephen Moffat, he's done some good, he's done some bad, but I have more problems with Stephen Moffat right now than I do with Russell T Davies. So when Moffat took over as showrunner, we got the first series back as a new Doctor, new companion, very exciting, and we got the first glimpse of an overarching storyline. The words, "Silence will fall." That's mentioned loads of times throughout the series. But it didn't get resolved, but I didn't worry about that because I was more interested in the fact that another thing was getting resolved, which was the cracks in the wall. But he did resolve it with a, oh yes, reboot. Reboot the universe. Wicked! So only the main characters remember it, yeah. Russell T Davies did that, actually, with the one with the Master and Martha. But I think he did it in a more wise way. But in fairness, I did enjoy the series finales of both, regardless of the non-explanation of the Silence Will Fall thing. But I looked forward to the next series, which we did get, and finally we got a creature called The Silence. Ooh, could this have something to do with The Silence Will Fall? Let's find out. Of course, we did watch on, and then we found there were two more overarching storylines. We have, is Amy pregnant? And we also had, oh my god, the Doctor is dying storyline. Thankfully, these are resolved in the series finale, which is great. But the series finale is resolved by another reboot. Also, still no progress on the Silence Will Fall thing. Do you see where I'm going there? We still haven't got a resolve for the Silence Will Fall thing. We literally don't. We literally don't have anything on that as of yet. And I'm hoping at least in this series finale. But that would mean they're wrapping up like 2-3 series worth of like foreshadowing. Oh, it's unnecessary. Do you see where I'm coming from? And the thing is, when he has these overarching storylines, I think sometimes his need to reference these things in stories are affecting some of the Doctor Who's writers' writing and making them not as good as they usually are. The thing is about the Davies things is that normally all the foreshadowing elements don't actually need to be mentioned in the episode. They don't add to the episode, like the Vote Saxon signs. They were just on the wall. Didn't have to mention them. Every now and again someone would name drop the word Saxon, but that's it. It wasn't necessary. And then they also had the Bad Wolf. Now and again they'd mention it and go, ooh, that's weird, isn't it? Look at that, it's Bad Wolf. But it's... Of course, as with this series, the split series, Stephen Moffat isn't entirely to blame. Yes, Stephen Moffat did split into two so they could only write one part episode, but still, we still had some very bad writing. Rings of Akatan. That was awful! It really was. It's the worst episode of Doctor Who and I think in a very long time. There's actually a review of it in the latest issue of Doctor Who magazine, and he completely agrees with me in saying that it's awful. But it really disappoints me that the writing is getting so bad and quite lazy like this, especially in the 50th anniversary year, and I hope it picks up before the end. And I hope Stephen Moffat doesn't moff up the 50th anniversary episode, because I really want that to go well, and I'm hoping that it's good. I will continue watching Doctor Who, mostly because I love this show and I can't stop watching it, but secondly because I plan to do a short review short of every single episode. I'm going to do the entire series in 2 minutes. I'm going to review an entire series in 2 minutes, which is, as you can see, probably very hard for me because it just took me that long to do this criticism. But I have a lot to say, even though I didn't really say much. Most of the time I spent explaining things. But I will do it, and I will pull it off because I script those. I sort of half scripted this, but I didn't stick to my script at all in this thing. But yeah, thank you for watching. Congratulations for making it to the end of this video, and goodbye!